cloud. What did I do? Is it recording? It says it's recording. Does anybody else have a little ditty in the top of their screen that says recording?
Yep, I'm showing you recording.
Okay, awesome. Cool. I guess mine looks different now.
Mizgut.
Mizgut. That's awesome, Mizgut. All right, so yeah, here we are, and doing our session for Astonishing Swords for ASSH. Astonishing Swordsmen and Sorcerers of Hyperborea. This ginormous book. I actually own this book too. I did.
Oh, nice.
I did get involved with the Kickstarter. I did. I don't know if you can see it up there on the shelf there, but like, there's I'm pointing towards it somewhere. That's version 1, the original, and like literally was at a con with Jeff Talanian here in Connecticut, and I think it was just some of the last ones he had. So I bought that, and then he was telling me about the Kickstarter. I had no clue what a Kickstarter was. And so he was that guy that actually walked me through like how to do Kickstarter and all that kind of stuff.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So, but it's funny because I put up the picture of the map and everything like recently and said, okay, here I'm going to start running, ASSH here, and I tagged him and he's like, yeah, dude, that was 4 years ago. I meant to. I like the game. I gave it a positive review. It's been up on my channel for a long time and everything.
I have number. Oh, you can't see it from the background, but I have number 142 out of 750, signed by Jeff in his red ink. That's like a high school teacher correcting your test.
Yeah. No, I got. Oh man, you got a better one. I got 234 of 750. Yeah. So I got the signature as well. So pretty cool.
I got nothing. And
yeah.
besides, your best excuse to Talanian is it took you 4 years to convince the knuckleheads who play with you to actually.
No, I think Jose's been begging to play for like since they've known him. But like, it's funny when this thing showed up in the mail. Like,
you had to convince the knuckleheads in your group.
Yeah, not me.
Knuckleheads.
And this thing showed up in the mail, and I was like, "Oh my god!" Well, it's my channel, but I mean, like, well, if this actually works and goes up to my channel, so I'm like, "Holy shit, this thing is huge!" Right?
Yeah.
And
small book.
I knew the pay, and I think I got the PDF. Like they gave us that first, like in like most Kickstarters. Yeah. And I'm trying to like go flip through it on my laptop, and I'm like, "Oh my god, this thing just never ends." I mean, fortunately, at age 52, the font is big, so it's not as big of a book as you think it might be.
Well, they got a player's manual too, and the same pages have the same reference.
Right, exactly. That's cool. Yeah, I didn't participate in that Kickstarter. Sorry, Jeff, but so I don't actually own a copy of that. But I should buy one just to have it. Probably just to have it as reference. But and I got the cool map, which I was really pumped because
does the player one have the combat chapters in it?
Should. I imagine like what it doesn't have. See, I don't know. Now I'm really just making stuff up.
Because that would be worth it for me, right? Instead of lugging the whole tome, if it has the combat in there.
It might not, because if it's divided into volumes.
Oh yeah.
The first volume 1 is everything having to do with character generation and has just the very basics of combat, and combat and adventuring is like volume 3.
Correct.
Yeah. Sorceries too.
Yeah.
Sorceries volume 2.
Yeah, because honestly, once you do your character, I don't think you'll be referring much to the first volume, right? What you'll be looking at is the advanced combat options, right? Because if you want to do something very specific, then you might need the exact numbers.
Actually, for history, I'll go grab some, but keep talking.
Yeah.
But we got the tables, so you got there most of what you need. You might only have to.
It's like the little things, like the arrows, like lining the arrows up on the ground. It's simple enough that I probably can tell you off the top of my head from having it read once that it just increases the speed, right? But I don't remember if there's particulars in it.
It increases the rate by 1, so 3-2 to
1, yeah.
And you know what? Another detail I love when you look at the combat modifiers for your attack roll or armor class, only the highest modifier applies.
Correct.
Right. So
except when you're doing missile fire, it says it's the only circumstance where you want to stack. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that is very cool.
That is very cool.
There are a ton of fantastic. They really streamlined the heck out of it.
Yeah.
And I don't know how much David Prado was involved in the streamlining. I know he did a lot of editing, but he like on Dragon's Story, you know, he was DM Prado was one of the guys I knew a long time ago now, so I guess we're both old. But he was one of those guys you'd go to with like a question about like combat sequence and all this kind of stuff, and he's, you know, one of the gurus and all that sort of stuff.
These advanced combat maneuvers, actions, I mean, are genius.
Yeah.
Because it gives flavor without breaking the game. I love it.
Yeah.
That's very cool. That is very, very cool.
And it really sidesteps the skills aspects. You know what I mean? It kind of makes a character a character. It really adds to the flavor of it.
Your character has the skills they need built in, which is, you know, one of the things I have, you know, when we talk about D20 versus skill-based games, I never get the skills my guy should have in a skill-based game. Right? You always miss either fire starting or
there's usually one skill missing at least. Yeah.
Yeah. This is awesome.
Yeah, they did a good job with that too. This is the original box set.
Oh,
I love the cover on this thing. It's you know, why not? Yeah, I mean, well, you know, it's every 13-year-old's fantasy. But,
I was looking for the censor bar.
They're kind of imitating this guy. I guess.
The back is fantastic. The back, awesome. You know, that's another thing got me. It's like, you know, it's practically out of Lamentations of the Flame Princess, for crying out loud.
I was about to say, I can see Thane pissing his pants now.
Yeah. What game are we playing? But I brought this out actually just because of the volumes, because this thing was actually divided into like a player's handbook and a GM's guide. You know, so I think the first 3 volumes are in one, the other volumes are the other one. So
are there a lot of rules differences between 1 and 2?
Not a lot. They've expanded the rules a little bit. That's about it. You know,
I'm sure they streamline a couple of things. They must have.
And these incredibly old dice you got from some dude that's like, nice. I have the heart to take this thing. Yeah, these are like awesome.
You need to buy the white crayon and fill them in.
Yeah. Oh yeah, the D20. Let's see, is this the kind? Yeah, D20 is numbered 0 to 9 twice. It's it's like this dice. Wow. This die is like old like me. Like he got them from some dude that had like this whole stack of these diamond dice. I guess is what they were called. They're not game signs or something like it.
You know, last year
a 1d6 to figure out if it's a fence or
Last year, I started playing a war game, and it had these templates that somebody laser printed on acrylic or something. Like they carved them on acrylic, and I got them, and I took a crayon and I filled it in, and I posted it on the website of the web page of the games, and I put a crayon and my filled in template, and people were like, "Oh my God, what are you doing?" And it's like,
can you see the 0?
Very old trick. Yes,
that's awesome. Yeah. You know, I just remember opening the thing up and getting the dice. I'm like, yeah. And it's only got 1d10 because this is the other one. The roll percentile dice, the big one, you know, the D20 is the 10s.
I bought a set off of Game Science a couple of years ago, and they had one of those old school D10s that looks like a D20.
Yeah. Oh, I love those things. Anyhow, this video's not about that. The session 0 is not about that. So, just to recap, we decided we're going to start down in the southern end, and by we I mean this is the pitch I had. We talked about the idea that you guys would be Chimeri Celts, because we were coming around with the idea like we should just have one race or one nation, and I didn't want to have a whole bunch. You know, to me, I just hate the idea of like having like an Eskimo shaman and a Sumerian warrior, because it just, if you look at the way the entire history of the world is set up and everything, you know, these people wouldn't necessarily be adventuring together. I mean, you could do, and like, you know, we'll see what happens once your characters all die, where you start to do the Conan type thing, where, you know, as you're tied to the tree of woe, some dude comes over and saves you or whatever. You know, it's possible, but I figured, you know, as a beginning.
It's improbable. It's improbable that you get a mixed party unless it were an idea such as like the Company of the Ravens, right? Such a bunch of mercenaries. You'd figure, okay, they're mercenaries, so they really recruit whoever.
Those losers.
But we're trying something different, so I like it.
Yeah, and you know, I decided you guys are going to be like somewhere just north of Swampgate in the fields of Vol, so right where the Chimeri Celts live. And, you know, the idea that your clan is not one that's, you know, they all war with each other, but I didn't want you to come from a clan that's like at war with all their brothers. I figured you guys are probably one of the nicer clans, if there is such a thing. Get married Celts.
The ones that only hit back, and if they raid, it's just for sheep or something.
Well, not quite that nice. But, you know, it's not like they have a blood feud with. I don't want you guys to have to walk like every 10 feet you walk, you're in hostile territory where you're wanted men. You know, at least until you get out of your own damn land. And then, you know, at that point, you know, you're screwed. But, you know, I didn't want to hamstring you in that way. I just didn't want to get bogged down. That's just the same thing as I didn't want to start out in the city of Camarium or whatever it is, because I didn't want to like get bogged down. It's a great place, and I think you can go to a lot of neat places from the southern tip of the continent. But I don't want us to get bogged down in the minutiae of like the city and blah 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 and all that kind of stuff. And are we ever going to get out of the damn city in the first place? But you know, one of the other neat things I like about this game that I want to really kind of reflect is, you know, it's not fantasy Dungeons and Dragons. It's not the high fantasy. So, you know, I dug the fact that a lot of the monsters are missing. They're just, you don't have the elves and the dwarves and the hobbits and whatnot. So you're gonna have enough trouble with the various tribes, you know, people of, you know, races of men and nations. And then there's plenty of other areas where you have the ape men and the lizard men and beast men and fishmen, and then, you know, even more horrific stuff like that. But you know, I wanted to really kind of accentuate the kind of sword and sorcery Conan and the other dudes. Who's the guy that kept popularized or kept Conan going? Was it Lynn Carter?
The camp, yeah.
And Lynn Carter too, right? I remember a couple of his. I
got a couple books over there somewhere with Lynn Carter and DeCamp. Yeah.
And Bjorn Nyberg.
Right.
Those were the three. Yeah. Lynn Carter, DeCamp, and Bjorn Nyberg.
And that's another series I haven't been able to locate, but I believe Lynn Carter has very influential Thongor series.
Yes, Thongor the Barbarian. I
have not located those.
Well, who put out Bran, or was it? Oh, I can't remember. I have to find that book. I think it might have been. Anyway.
I don't know. So, the other thing I wanted to do, which we already talked about, but just bears repeating, is, you know, I decided I don't want to have a whole bunch of magic using classes. So, like, I think I got rid of exactly half of them. To be honest, you know, all the wizard, you know, all the magician classes are off the table. All the subclasses are off the table. No clerics, no priests. Which is kind of the cleric that they can't fight worth a damn, but can cost a lot more spells. The Runegraver is awesome. So I was like, we got the Runegraver is definitely a class that fits. And the Shaman, which I was kind of on the fence about because it is technically a cleric magic user, or, you know, a magician, whatever you want to call it. And you can choose, I think, different subclasses of what kind of magic user spells you want to have. But the Shaman's just so weird. Anyway. Awesome. Yeah, I wanted to, you know, I figured that really fits this idea of these barbarian tribes. And, you know, saying barbarian, you know, the barbarian class is on the table, as are, like, I think all the fighter subclasses except for warlock. But you guys are just barbarians anyway. Like, that's a culture, not just a class. Yeah. So, yeah, you're culturally barbarians. You know, barbarian is kind of more of an occupation or a mindset. But
it means we put ketchup on steak, stuff like that, you know.
Exactly. Exactly. I remember I had this. I wonder if I look more like a barbarian without the spelling. I got to get the spelling, you know. That's more like a pirate. That's kind of blows it when we do the. But one of the things I think I said in an old video of mine, like a long time ago, was like when I was talking about like regular D&D, you know, old school D&D. I was like, well, if you want to be a barbarian, just wear furs and eat raw meat. Just play a damn fighter. Times change, but anyhow, it's not so bad. But because of that, like, I mean, you have that basic distrust of, not just distrust of like sorcery, but the idea that, like, it just doesn't belong. Like, at least to me, it doesn't belong in a pure sword and sorcery game.
It's wrong.
Yeah, exactly. The Ixians, the surviving Hyperboreans. Yeah, that's the staple of like the Conan novels. Is like the sorcerer. Yeah.
It's like the Barbarian and Basilisk game. The sorcerer class, they call it, these are the cheaters.
Right, exactly. Exactly. So, basically what I've decided is like the spell, most of the spell list is mine. and fair warning, like any sorcerers that'll be in the game, probably going to be a much higher level. Because, how scary is like a second level, necromancer? Not too scary. So, if you meet somebody casting magic, that's a bad thing. So that's kind of the flavor and vibe I wanted to go for. And I think, so I cut out any of these subclasses outside of the shaman that had any kind of like, the thief magic users off the table too. I think the thief cleric all that stuff was off the table. So, all the classes that's, I think I took the cataphract out just because I understand that, let's see, who do I have to mute here? Wait a minute, that's going to be Jose. Can I mute Jose? Can I mute him before he mutes himself? No, because I don't know who. Torsten, Cthulhu. I try to mute. I'm looking. I say I'm gonna go for Jose, and I'm seeing all these freaking names like Biscuit. I don't know how these people are. We never talked about. Never mind. Man. There was a madness took me, but it was past. It's gone. So, what the hell was I saying? Anybody remember?
About sorcerers.
Yeah, they're out. They're gone.
The cataphracts.
I just didn't want a game about horsemen, so I kind of took it off the table from now. Just like it just didn't seem like. And the paladin, same thing, just absolutely does not fit. This whatsoever. And so then, the other thing we already talked about, this idea that like this kind of like historical analogs, like get rid of that. Like just don't worry about that. The people in here are like nominally like Vikings and Celtic and all these people that, probably over 1,000 years ago, I think it is. Because I think the Green Death was it 1,000 years ago? Something like that? Anybody remember?
Like
a long time ago. But all the people, all of your ancestors came to Hyperborea a long time ago. Sailing across the ocean through the impenetrable fog, and then they come upon this land that, and they can't get back, or they're walking through the fields of their own homeland, or the battlefield of in Mongolia or wherever the hell they are, and then next thing you know, they're in this place they don't recognize, and they turn around, where they came from is gone. But that's, to you now, these things are like creation myths. Right? So the fact that you nominally call yourself, Cimmerians and Celts, or doesn't really mean much. Yes, you're mostly that blood, but as I mentioned before, people being people, they like to, So there's no chance you don't have other kinds of blood in you.
We're all models here. Yeah,
exactly. And actually, most of the people in Hyperborea are already common stock. So that's kind of flavor. So I wouldn't worry about the fact that just because the Runegraver, which I think Jim's going to play a Runegraver, Mizgit the Runegraver.
Oh yes.
Just because they worship the gods. Those Viking gods doesn't really mean that he has to be of Viking blood and all that kind of junk. You guys get a chance to look at all the gods?
I skimmed.
I got to look
them.
at mine.
Yeah. Cool. The Green Death is 1,001 years ago, apparently.
Right. Yeah.
So
that was after your ancestors. Listen, man. Can anybody remember like start reciting history from 1,000 years ago? Like with real detail,
and particularly barbarians, right? They would have this oral history coming down, but nothing is written. There's not really an exact count of years, so it's probably it's ill-defined, right? It's in the past. It's legends. It's.
Well, that makes me want to ask the question. You said it takes 13 years for the rotation.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Which is interesting because it roughly corresponds to 12 months in a year, right?
Yeah,
so
there's 13 months. There's 13 years in a rotation. This is a land of like literally like the seasons are years, not months.
Like 3 years plus, yeah.
Right. So if I don't know, seasons are like a couple of months each, so make it a couple of years each.
Yeah, it's in there. Like how many? Yeah, it's in there, and even the amount of sunlight goes up and down too. So it's and the whole land is just cold all the time.
Yeah.
I don't did you guys decide? Like, I mean, I can't recall like what the big gods of the Khmeri Celts are off the top of my head.
I know it's Grimmer, and it says that
Hyundai.
Sathokwa is like a general deity for everybody.
Right.
Those are the two I remember.
And Hyundai's the nature goddess, like Alona type, Miliki type thing. She's Celtic. Right.
So it's up to, I mean, like, it's up to you guys in terms of like how you want to, like how much you want to play into that. Like, I mean, the only thing I thought off the top of my head, once again, genre is like, a lot of people like give lip service to the gods, but it's not like this culture where you're going to be, that's your whole life.
That brings a question.
Yeah.
When I play barbarians, I'm usually very colorful, cursing, with taking God's names in vain. Is that allowable in this game?
Yeah, actually, I mean, how many games gods are there? Yeah.
Don't do it in front of Miskit, though. So
it says that about the Khmerians, though, not necessarily about the Khmerian. I mean, you can do it, but that was interesting. I thought that the Khmerians oftentimes use it in vain as a curse word.
Well, this guy might have a lot more Khmerian in him than we realize.
Oh yeah, I mean, it's fine. It was just they noted that,
Krummer is a nicely thinly veiled reference to Crom, so
of course it is.
He doesn't care. Yeah,
I don't care. Like, I mean, like I think Jeff had to be very careful about how he wrote things and said things. You can say Crom all you want. Or Sumerian or whatever you want. Like we don't have to play by the rules.
That's true. That is true.
Because Cthulhu instead of Cthulhu and Sathagua and Ithaqua. Yeah.
Right. Bless you. Cthulhu.
Yeah.
I got a question, and I'm talking about not playing by the rules. Are we doing this raw? Do we know now, or any house rules?
No. So far, the only only non-raw thing I put in there is just take maximum hit points at first level, just because you're probably going to die anyway, and so I'd like it to be interesting. And after that, you're kind of on your own. I think the only other thing that Eloy brought up as far as advocating for a house rule is the weapon
class.
What are they called? Weapon classes for something like daggers. He really talked about
going to 1 instead of 2.
I would put it to 0 instead of because if you have a dagger, you're basically you're empty-handed against a sword.
But I think Bell means that the difference can be 1 instead of 2 for it to be an advantage. See what I mean? So 2 versus 1, you get the advantage.
Yes.
3 versus 2, 4 versus 3.
Okay.
Yeah, because it's 2 levels above.
Yeah, right. So that's why I figured, all the weapons that do 1d4 damage, just think of them as class 0. And so then you automatically, if you have a sword, then it's two size differences, right? As opposed to, say, a short sword, which I think is class 1, but it's a 1d6 weapon, right? But it makes sense that if you have a short sword and I have a long sword, it's close, right? It's not a dagger, which is considerably smaller, right? And that's why I thought, just make the d4 weapons into class 0.
That's easier to keep track of.
Because the hammer, the horseman's hammer, the horseman's mace, those are 1d6 weapons, and those are class 1.
Right.
And it makes perfect sense. They do 1d6, right? They should be larger. Short swords, short scimitar, those are class 1. But like the dagger, the sickle, which is not the scythe, it is the sickle. It is the little handle with a little curved half moon thing.
Not the Grim Reaper version.
It's yay big, right? Versus a sword. It's like, make that 0. Come on.
I don't have a problem doing that. Like, and maybe make a difference of 1 count as a reach sort of thing, because it's first strike. It's the very first part of the round, and it really doesn't come into play once you close. So yeah, I don't really care about that. I mean, and if it seems like it's not working out or it's too unbalanced, then we can change it. Other than that, I don't see any reason. I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I was going to ask about the critical, because I thought it was interesting. I think it's optional. I've been trying to read as much as possible, but as far as the critical, when you roll a d6, and for your class, like a fighter could be, I think it was 4, 5, and 6, you could have times 3.
I was going to suggest we don't do criticals because
I
it's
would.
bad both ways.
Yeah.
And it's
that's what I'm wondering if we was going to do that. Open.
I'd rather.
I would vote against it. Yeah.
That's an optional rule. Do we know what page that's on?
Which one?
Probably 130 or somewhere around that.
The crypt?
Yeah, but no, maybe it's later on. It's just a big book.
It's not the combat chapter itself.
No, it's
it's
an adventure in combat. Yes, it's in page 258.
Jose, by the way, or Torsten Wolfstrider is in fact our resident, expert on the book already, so that's
he's the
cool.
RPG version. Yeah, Google.
It says clearly critical hits are optional.
Yeah, that's what.
Let's see. I'll share my Venmo number with you guys, and like when you actually get hit, I think $5 would probably cover it.
So what you're saying is you'll take bribes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Ooh, the one thing I do kind of like is the idea that the fighter has this horrific damage and starts going up compared to everybody else.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool, but when the monsters do it,
I know.
It can be up to triple damage.
I'm aware of that. I'm aware of that. Fighter call. Oh, look at that.
Oh, no, but I did read. There's something in there about, like, you don't double. Oh, shoot. You don't stack them, basically. If there's an extra 2 times 2, you'll just add 1 more. I can't remember where I read that, though. I'll have to bring it up and show you guys later.
That's in Pathfinder.
No, it was.
I'm kidding.
Yeah, no.
But that's how it does work in Pathfinder. You keep adding dice instead of multiplying.
Instead of multiplying like that, yeah. Mathfinder.
Well, let's try them tonight. And somebody rolls a 20. We'll see what happens. I kind of like the critical hits, but we'll see. If you guys really, really don't want to do it, then yeah, I kind of like that one, to be honest with you. That's kind of nifty. But anyhow, you don't have to do that. Don't be that mean to you. Well, let's see. What else? Where we were?
What's the starting point? You mentioned a war band.
Oh yeah,
of guys. Which sounds awesome to me. Yeah. So
I mean, I'll give the full thing like the actual day of the adventure.
Sure.
But basically, the idea is like I figure that your clan has more than one base of operations. Like it's big enough. I think the clans are about 500 to 1,000 people. So they're semi-nomadic, but they have areas where they stay. So the idea that you're a substantial number of your clan, are with you. You come to this area, which is more like a central. The main log house, the chieftain's residence, all that sort of stuff. You come to the, what would be your main village, and there's just been a slaughter. Like literally bodies are on poles, all the atrocities have been committed. You can clearly see that without getting too descriptive now, that the women have been used and then killed, and then just these people have just been, and children have been killed, the whole 9 yards. To make matters worse, there's been some eyewitnesses of the departure of these people. Because you're going to start in medias res. I'm not going to have you talking to the eyewitnesses and saying, what happened here, all that kind of BS. We're going to start with you guys hot on the trail of
excellent
the people that did this. And part of what you've found in the investigation of not just you, but your whole the rest of your tribe, also known as your backup characters. The people that will replace you after you die, is that in fact these marauders, whomever they were, because it's somewhat mysterious, they had 2 arms and 2 legs. The marauding group of men are traveling north, but it's clearly they have captives, and like not all the bodies were there. There was a substantial number of women and children and young men, which are just missing. So they've clearly taken captives with them. But heavy on the women and children, as far as captives. And then a very important item to your clan, like one of the central, revered items, is also been stolen.
Sounds great to me.
So, vengeance,
yes.
Possible rescue, and the return of, the central talisman of the central talisman of the clan.
And vengeance.
And vengeance.
Yeah.
You know? So you guys be just walking around just like.
But if everything else fails, we'll just settle for vengeance.
Yeah, man. But yeah, it's the sort of thing that even if there was no kidnapping and no no artifact stolen, it would be. Of course, you were going to go. This is a blood feud on steroids. This is not.
Yeah.
This is not something that like another Khmer Celt clan would do. It's like beyond. There's no like honor in it. Like literally, these people were just brutalized. And what's the word I'm looking for? But the bodies are like desecrated. You just don't do that. So it's just horrific.
Nice.
So that is why you're adventuring. It's not adventure. It's for blood.
Yeah. Which
brings in the backup characters. Some of you made them, some of you didn't. It shouldn't take too long to make another backup character, but I'm not gonna. The gloves are gonna be off, so whatever happens, happens. This will not be story mode, necessarily, or there'll be no. What's the word I'm looking for? There'll be no plot and immunity for your characters.
Well, I do have a concern about doing this game because I know we play Theater in the Mind, we always have, but reading all these rules, it seems like on a tactical level, it's really well suited for like tabletop miniature play in a way, as far as the movement meaning so much. So, because I know like if you do a phase, you do it in 2 phases, if not 3, and you split up your movement between our segment of the phase. Like one, if I can move 30 foot, I'll move 15 in the first and then 15 in the second half.
But I just have to say that once we're in melee, most things will be within a half move anyway. So it's just, I think Ivan's gonna you just ask him, am I close enough? Am I not? Once you're in the big melee.
We've kind of always did it that way, and had battles. That was just something I wanted to point out more than anything.
Yeah, I wouldn't worry about that. Like when we I've got enough space here that like if I really need to, I can put some dice out, as counters and give myself
in case things get kind of. Yeah.
But I don't think I'm not anticipating or and I don't want to do any kind of like grid type combat. But
Sure.
I don't see that as going to be like a real.
I bring that up because of all the stock work. I don't know what we'll be facing, much less how many backup characters we're going to be, bringing into it.
But I think we did it like in Lamentations of Mars, right? Would be like when we were out in the open, it's like about how far away are they? And then Ivan could just say like 60 yards. And it's like, okay, I can figure that for movement and stuff.
Yeah.
But on encounters, we're definitely going to be using the surprise and the
the zero phase too, because as far as like the throw and attack.
Yeah, I like to use the whole darn thing.
Yeah, that's awesome to me because when you're dealing with wizards, it's gonna just blow you off the planet. You need to take them out before they can do that.
That's a very important thing.
Yeah,
that's probably gonna be your only hope sometimes.
Yeah.
Speaking of hit point soaking, blowing off the planet, I will allow you guys just to bring some henchmen, but like I run really in the background, like quite literally.
Yeah.
And that what you're gonna have at least now. I have no idea where you're gonna end up. Like how long we're gonna play this, and if you end up in New Pickland or something like that, in the Strag Coast or in Sheriff, you may end up picking some people along the way. With your incredible wealth, before you blow it all at the brothel and everything else. At the Grog House, but the guy, the people you're going to take with you now, like literally are going to be 0 level humans from your clan. Doesn't mean they're boys, I mean they're men, but you guys are above average. You're barbarians and berserkers and runegravers and what else? What are you guys playing?
Barbarian.
You're barbarian.
I just rolled up a fighter right now. For the 2 weapon specializations, but
all right.
So, but you're not going to give us. You'll give us 1 XP for 1 gold piece we blow, right? Is that how it's going to work?
I believe we're going to do the XP based on the raw, so we're going to do on the gold and the killed monsters. I believe it's got both in it, doesn't it?
I did not get that far. We'll find out if we survive how we level up.
If we survive.
We'll do XP.
Exactly.
We'll do XP raw. However it works, it works, and that's what happens.
We'll worry about it after we live. If we die, then we don't have to calculate XP. So that'll be awesome.
I don't think magic items have XP value. They should.
So you have slaying or capturing monsters, gaining treasure. You don't have to spend it. You gain it.
Right.
Clever use of an ability, problem solving, adventure campaign goals, and attendance 25 to 50 XP per hour.
Ooh, that's
25 to 50 XP per hour. Wow,
and
that's
for showing up.
right.
Yeah.
I think is Jim rolling up his character?
He's playing Tetris over there.
what gives you that idea? What gives you that idea? I don't know why you're like.
He gives rolling dice or something like that. Roll all these dice. But yeah,
let's keep talking about backup characters.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, but so the henchmen will not really be appropriate backup characters. For the most part. And these, literally, I'm thinking about guys are gonna be able to carry some of your stuff and watch the horses and
Yeah, I'm thinking my henchman is gonna be like a young kid, right? Like a 14, 15-year-old boy from the village, right? An apprentice hunter or apprentice something that's hanging on with us. And so he can take care of the horses and he can help, minor stuff. I don't expect him to go into battle.
Well, he probably killed his first man at 13, right?
Yeah.
Give him a shield, man.
I've listened to a lot of Iron Maiden lately in preparation for this, so I'm ready,
Yeah.
What a great tune. Yeah, I'm guessing that any of your henchmen would target and draw steel. If something happens, they're not going to be completely, useless in a fight, but they're just going to be 0 level end. So how much are they really going to be able to do?
Yeah.
I'm guessing probably the leather armor.
I wanted to use them as bait at least, so I could get a flanking position.
Use them tactically.
Get that +3 on the flank.
You see, that impacts your chance of replacing them, though. Just be careful.
Right.
I know.
But what's also I'm going to use the loyalty and morale rules with these guys. They are members of your tribe, so there's a good chance that their loyalty and morale will be high.
Oh yeah.
But doesn't mean it's not going to be rolled either. When stuff happens, there's a good chance that and depending on how you treat them, things may go different.
The beatings will continue until morale improves. Yeah.
I'm pretty sure some of those sword and sorcery stories had some betrayals, and some poisonings and all that stuff.
The beatings will continue until morale improves, or until somebody slits your throat at night while you're sleeping.
Right.
One of those is likely to happen.
Yeah. You don't need to be a class individual to use Black Lotus. You really don't.
Funny,
I love the fact this game has all these various different lotuses in here. That if you haven't read about all those, you got to read about those because those are
the best.
Yeah, exactly. Those are awesome. And as far as equipment, don't go bananas. I think that's kind of in terms of don't.
I didn't see bananas. Were they?
Don't. Yeah. No. Those actually can only be bought in the city of Cremine, which you guys are not going to be going to. Yeah, you know what they do out near where you guys are? They cut peat. Peat's a major commodity. Guys have to go into the peat bogs and cut peat. They're going to burn peat.
Wow.
Yeah. Why do you guys live there? It's horrible.
Right.
I'm reading the description of that thing. It was a horrible place on earth. Just go move to a fishing village or something. Of course, there's problems there. But, man, peat bog. I'm wow, that's really uninteresting. That's horrible. That should be why you're adventuring. Yeah. What's your opportunity? Well, I can cut peat.
Yeah. It's just to avoid cutting peat.
Exactly. But anyway, should you die, at least in this stage, while you're pursuing whoever these people are, the biggest rationale, or the easiest rationale for backup characters is some of the people behind you show up. And they're automatically going to join the party because they're part of the vengeance team. You just happen to be you guys are just the A team. The B team,
Vanguard.
C team.
Yeah.
Team Epsilon is way back there, but they're coming. You're probably going to end up playing them.
Avengers.
Yeah, I have no idea. Let's see. Anything we should cover though? Any questions or like what? I mean, are there things? I talked like a ton. So like, what do you guys want to see or not see or all that kind of stuff?
I don't want to see laser guns or lightsabers.
Freaking laser beams.
I hate, the only art I hate here is when there's people with ray guns. I just can't handle it.
Right. Yeah. I'd rather keep that. I mean, there are a couple ray gun type things I've seen in the book, like at certain points, and you just don't want to encounter them. They're horrible.
And there's literally lightsabers. There's a light dagger and there's a light sword. No.
It's laden with 80s references, right? The glaive is in there from Krull. So, the sun sword from Thundar the Barbarian is surely in there too. So
but the sun sword, they have the AD&D sun sword also, which is fine, but not.
But all of that comes out of Thundar, right? So
there are references galore in this book. We found the rhyme of the Ancient Mariner, and then what else was there? There was another one.
Surprise!
A surprise! Oh yeah, the Howardian surprise with a Z.
One thing cool about the world, though, is I think you can bring in even more different influences, throughout history or intermingle it, because this looks like a nexus point of, of cultures. And what you want to get rid of too, you could. So it's a mixed bag.
No, it is a weird place, and if you don't know, it's literally a hexagon floating in space, or a hex.
Yeah.
It's a hex. It's a flat hex. In fact, they've that's why the map looks like a hex. Did you read the part where like literally they did, scholars have determined it's actually a hex by watching like what it does to the moons? There's two moons, and like when there's partial eclipses of the moons, they can actually see that. Like this Hyperborea was literally supposedly one of those lands like Atlantis and Lang and Mu and all that stuff that you could sort of, they were of legend, you can kind of get to them, and Avalon, all that kind of stuff, but literally got ripped from the earth at some point. And is now like just existing by itself with like complete with like I think a red bloated sun in the sky and all that good junk.
Yeah,
it's a very bizarre place.
What do you guys think about the aspect, because it's not necessarily a Tolkien-esque English, influences on it. It's very like we're talking about Howard and Lovecraft. So you're dealing with more of the unknown, the cosmic horrors and whatnot like that. So that aspect of it is what I'm talking about, like the weird tales, other than just kind of strictly Conan the Barbarian, as far as that aspect of the game. How are people about that? Like you were talking about the portals or different ones.
Yeah, there's got to be supernatural stuff all over. It's just, it's the Cthulhu stuff. It's just you're not an investigator anymore, right? So it's like
smacking the Cthulhu stuff is one of my class abilities.
So
got a +1 damage. Yeah.
To us, it's just another monster, right? From the.
No, that's cool. I was just wanting to make it's cool with me too, but
it's a horrible monsters, but it should be fun dying at their hands.
Yeah, but it ties into the fact of like where you're dealing with sorcerers, like in Conan. It's the unknown, that horror aspect that you're trying.
Yeah, that's half of Conan's stories, right? He tries to steal something and a monster shows up, right? Sometimes it's a giant ape.
Yeah, you don't know what you're dealing with.
And sometimes it's a demon too horrible to describe, right? But
well, that is one of the things I was, at least for me, and I don't know how you guys feel about that, but what I don't want this to be is like a monster around every corner, and I'd rather have it. A big. You'll still die anyway. What matter? As one of my friends said one time, what difference does it make if a giant kills you or a midget kills you? Dead is dead. So that's awful. But the idea being that like a lot of the things you will encounter are men,
right?
And even if they're like man-like creatures, it's not like the goblins and the kobolds and the this and that. There's some very trope, heavy trope like snake men and ape men and beast men. And there are places where these guys live. It's not like they're all over the place. And I don't want to have the the wandering monster tables, and which, by the way, wandering monsters in here. I think it's like literally you check every 2 turns.
2 turns. That's what I was thinking. Yeah.
It's like that's a lot.
In the wilderness.
Definitely in the
dungeon. I know, but not.
But I think it's very frequent. It's more frequent than I did in D&D. I'm like, holy mackerel, it's a lot. But the idea being that like a majority of like what you might encounter would be man, or there's a ton of like giant creatures in here, giant wolverines and giant squirrels and giant bison, whatever. There's just some bizarre stuff here that just it's
like even lycanthropy and everything else.
Yeah.
So.
But and the other thing is a lot. I prefer not to have like wizards around every corner, but the flavor of like you can have some sorcerers or the witch that lives in the bog or that kind of stuff, But I don't want to run something, or I think I'd be screwing the genre if we had just stuff around every corner, like just crazy, or even if you go underground. It should make sense. There's not going to be, a different thing in each particular room and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, that's whole genre. That sounds good to me.
Who's good at sneaking? Anybody good at sneaking? Are you guys going to be able to do any sort of?
Yeah, the ranger and the barbarian at least.
Okay, yeah. That's decent.
Yeah, I think that's important to have that. Not be surprised, basically.
Yeah, we have advantage to surprise. We're only surprised on a one, and I believe that that extends to the party.
Correct.
And if we direct the party to ambush something, we can ambush on a 3 to 6.
Yeah, that's really good.
That's really
good.
To me, first punch is everything.
Yeah, we have a chance to organize the rest of the Murphers, then we can.
You guys are definitely responsible for what your characters can do, because I'm not going to be able to remember all of that all at once, because there's quite a bit in this game.
Yeah.
So if you forget to advocate for it, too bad, man. Your barbarian was sleeping that day, and he just did not drink his coffee or eat his Wheaties or all that kind of stuff.
Needed his V8,
Having a bad day. And like we already mentioned before, before we started talking here, that like you didn't want to have any like portals to like other worlds. Like you didn't want to end up in Carcosa or something like that, or
bring Carcosa to us.
Right.
Bring Cthulhu to us.
Yeah, there's a couple spots. There's a couple spots here in the map. I forget which ones they are. Where literally, like you go inside and it's bigger. You haven't been transported anywhere, but that's different.
What I don't want is us lost there without a way to return. Right, a short jaunt into a different place is fine, but at the end we get to come back because
Who would want to go to the lush, not dying Earth when they could stay in Hyperborea, the land of eternal winter?
Yeah.
And speaking of eternal winter, I think if I recall correctly, outside of like a couple areas which just seem to have some kind of hot springs or some kind of weird magical crap going on, like it's cold. Like I think in summers it's like in the low 70s,
right?
And that's it. And like winter, you're talking like sometimes like -20 Fahrenheit, or it's bad.
Yep.
There's some, so I kind of I don't want to like dispense with the whole desert, Conan vibe. I think there definitely should be some of that, but it's not going to be. Most of it's going to be in a lot of furs. Like I'm not sure what the dudes in these drawings are thinking when they're wearing the stuff they're wearing. Like this dude here, like he's badass, because pretty much the bottom line is he can just withstand the cold.
Yeah. That's even more impressive than him fighting the monsters.
It's just the fact. Like, look,
you're not wearing any clothes, man.
Yeah, this guy, right? He's just, man, that's impressive, because it's cold there. Anything else you guys want to see or don't want to see, or or what you want to the focus of the game, or what you guys want to be doing? Like I don't want to lead you around by the hand all day long, chasing these guys all over God's creation, and having I haven't prepared like a railroad, or that's the wrong word. I haven't prepared like a logical sequence where then you find some big bad and that's who this thing. I mean, there's certainly something there. And at the same time, I don't want to leave you just like wandering around saying, well, what do we do and where do we go? And what spot on the map looks good.
Right.
There'll be stuff going on, but is there particular stuff you guys want to do? Like that's
vengeance. I mean,
once the vengeance is done, exploring the continent, seeking lost treasures, that kind of thing. I mean, I think that's the thing to do.
Yeah. I think there's enough out there, at least you said when you're rolling every 2 turns. There's going to be stuff cropping up for us to deal with constantly, So it seems like a very active land is what I'm saying, or setting.
Right. Yeah, I mean, not to give anything away really, but you're not going to travel 2 miles and find these guys. It's going to be a bit of a chase and all that kind of stuff. There's a lot of nifty stuff out there. It's really wild though. Like the center of this continent is like this huge part of it. I mean, it's got to be maybe 40% of the actual landmass there, or close. 30 some odd percent is just like inhospitable frozen mountains.
Yeah.
And that's like no matter which way you go, if you start to go into the continent to go somewhere else, that's where you go, unless you skirt the edge of the continent and stuff. Mm-hmm. But yeah, so far you're just going north. So there's all kinds of nifty, horrible things out there.
I guess maybe just keep in mind that like I pulled up fighter and scale mail, but when I'm in the area that I'm in, kind of flavor the character that I am, not with literal scale mail, but an equivalent of it, from the area, the clan that I'm in. It could be mammoth hide or whatever. The book was suggesting this, but I'm just saying, as far as under fighter in armor, in the book. So I'm just saying in general, keep it in mind.
It's just color.
Right?
Because mechanics wise, it's the same armor class. What you're saying, it may look more like heavy furs instead of like actual plates of armor or something. Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, kind of get with the coal and with the setting and everything like that.
Yeah.
Just keep that in mind and keep the flavor of it moving forward. I think it'd be great.
Yeah, nobody's gonna have a set of armor that looks like it's actually a set of armor that matches.
Exactly.
No, yes, you got that one giant thing on down one arm with the spikes on it and everything else, and then the spike on your elbow that you can jab guys in the head with. That's what you're supposed to have.
Yeah.
You're not supposed to have like a set of armor that really looks like it's a set of armor. Usually. Occasionally.
Yeah. Yeah, it's piece mail all over the place.
Well, not always. There's Conan did wear some chainmail from time to time, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Even I knew that.
Whoa. Okay. Yeah.
That's it though.
Yeah.
Limits of your.
I'm gonna run upstairs for 1 second. I'll be right back. But I don't know if you guys if you guys have anything else. If there's anything else you guys want to ask, but then maybe we can move on to a mock combat or two and see how this actually pans out.
Sounds good.
Do it.
Yeah.
I'm gonna get some water.
See here.
Misgut.
Yeah, I was reading this. I knew this would be right up your alley. I was reading. I said, "Oh, this is tailor-made for him." I can see why you like it.
And I like the setting, but I like the rules even more. It's like you could just, if you wanted to play regular D&D with this, you could just import the demi-humans from the old player's handbook and go to it.
Actually, I played BX back in the day. I would just mine from 1E and stuff. But if it was like this, it would have been easier for me to jump on board more fully.
This is a wonderful mix of 1E and BX. This is fantastic.
Yeah. I agree. Kind of inspiring too, looking at the different archetypes, and the way they're built is cool.
I love
that's why I was looking at those advanced combats. I was like, without that, man, that's what makes it to me.
Where's the initiative roll? I don't.
It's a group initiative.
It's a D6 per side.
Cool. Okay.
Yeah, I think your thief and your whatever uses D12. But everything uses D6.
Yeah, I just don't, in the chapter, combat chapter, I didn't see it off the bat. So I was surprised, but must be in the wrong area. Attack modifiers. Oh, it's probably in the procedure, which is farther along.
All righty.
Yeah.